So at least you're humble. What's going on, humble man?
I got a question. Obviously been looking into your articles and sessions. I think I have quote unquote a contradiction in the New Testament, which
Sure,
I
beautiful.
think that would be
I'm ready to give
interesting.
up. I'm ready to give up on
Uh,
Christianity.
There we go. In Matthew 27:28, it says they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. And in
And then the
John
other one says
19,
the purple robe.
correct.
Yeah, I already responded to this in a very long, lengthy article by a Muslim attack on the Gospel of John. So in John, it says purple robe, right?
Correct.
And yet in Matthew, repeat the contradiction so they can
Yep.
understand what you're asking me, and I'm going to get you the
Matt,
article.
sure. Matthew 27:28, it says they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. And in John 19, verse 2, it says the soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they clothed him a purple robe on him. So it is scarlet and it is purple.
Yeah, which is it, man? Right? Which is it? I already addressed this in a very long. Remember when I started doing full-time ministry in 1999? I answered this over 10 years ago, not to the satisfaction of almost. I'm going to explain why. Are you guys listening now? These questions are good. So let's discuss them. But I'm just waiting to put it on screen. Sometimes my thing is slow. Hold on, brother. Okay. Here it is. In that article, notice the objection. Matthew 27:28, Jesus is given a scarlet robe, a sign of infamy. John 19:2, a purple robe, a sign of royalty. Over 10 years ago, they were using this objection. See it? Okay, it's in that article. And here I respond, and here's the response. Okay. Now, I'm going to have to clarify these discrepancies. So, guys, now class has begun. You're going to learn because these are things you need to address. So I'm going to put on the screen for you. In that article, I quote this source, right? This comes from D.A. Carson, G.J. Wenham, G.A. Moutier, and R.T. France. They had an introduction to New Testament. So they say the imperfect tense of the verbs in verse 3 suggests a succession of mock acts of homage. Okay, you understand the implication?
Right.
A successive mocking acts of homage, meaning what you're reading isn't them doing it one time. Throughout the day, they're mocking him and insulting him. So it is quite plausible and possible that when they first mock him, they put one robe, and as they continue mocking him, they put on another robe. See the point?
Right.
Now, let me tell you the problem, though. Are you ready? You guys understand the response? If you read the Bible in its original language and you read the Gospels in Greek, the imperfect tenses imply a succession of mocking acts of homage. They didn't do it one time. They repeated it throughout the day. So it is plausible that as they begin mocking him, they put one color robe, and as the mocking continues, then they put on another colored robe, and therefore there is no real contradiction. But here's the problem. It really comes down to your assumption. What do I mean? No amount of harmonization, no amount of conciliation will convince someone who refuses to be convinced. No amount of alleged contradictions will convince a Christian contradictions exist if he or she believes the Bible is inerrant. So in reality, the reason why I don't engage alleged Bible discrepancies, because it comes down to the assumption of the person. Do you want a possible harmonization showing you there are no real contradictions? That if you can harmonize two accounts, then that means there are no real contradictions. Or have you made up your mind the Bible's full of errors so that I'm wasting my time and yours? Tell me. So this is why I don't engage alleged Bible discrepancies, because I learned early on that it really comes down to the person asking. Are you asking because you want to know? Yes, I do. I'm being honest. All right, well, here's a way you can harmonize them. The fact they can be harmonized means there's no real contradiction. Because if you can harmonize two accounts, then the fact that they can be harmonious, put together, means no real contradiction exists. But have you made up your mind? No amount of harmonization, conciliation will suffice because you're convinced the Bible is not true, not reliable. Then why ask me? Because we're wasting each other's time. You see my point?
Yeah.
Moreover, a harmonization doesn't mean that's the answer. So let me add another element for you guys. A harmonization doesn't mean it's the answer. What do I mean? Just because I can harmonize them by this way, that doesn't mean that's the solution. Why? Because unless I'm speaking to Matthew and John, I'm simply attempting to harmonize them, but I really don't know the answer unless they give it to me. But Matthew and John are not here. So at best, I'm trying to find a way to harmonize them. And since they can be harmonized, there is no real contradiction. But my harmonization doesn't mean it's the inspired answer, because unless God tells me or Matthew and John are in front of me, it's simply a harmonization. That's all it is.